You don't lose strength in a single day. You lose it gradually each time doubt is rehearsed, each time fear is allowed the final word before sleep. Tonight is not about becoming someone new. It is about restoring what has quietly been slipping away. Faith is not loud. It does not announce itself with excitement or demand proof before it appears. Faith settles in quietly when the mind stops arguing with tomorrow and starts agreeing with possibility instead. Most people try to build strength while awake, battling the world head-on, exhausting themselves with effort and resistance. But the deepest kind of strength is formed when the mind is calm, when it receives instruction without conflict. As the day fades, the conscious guard lowers. This is when beliefs pass through without interrogation. Whatever is accepted now does not remain a thought. It becomes posture. It becomes tone. It becomes how you meet the world when morning comes. Think of how many nights ended with worry instead of rest. How many times fear was allowed to speak uninterrupted in the quiet. Those moments did more shaping than all the effort made during the day. Faith weakens not because it disappears, but because it is drowned out. It is replaced by repetition of what might go wrong, what hasn't worked yet, what could be lost. The mind listens carefully and obeys. Tonight, that pattern shifts. You are not here to fight doubt. You are here to starve it. Doubt survives on attention. Faith grows on agreement. You do not need to force belief. Forced belief collapses under pressure. Real faith settles gently, without urgency, until it feels familiar and familiar ideas feel true. As your body relaxes, notice how the need to stay alert softens. This is not vulnerability. This is access. The mind becomes receptive when it no longer feels the need to defend. Strength does not come from bracing against life. It comes from knowing quietly that you can meet whatever arrives. This knowing does not shout. It steadies. Faith is the assumption that you are supported, even when outcomes are not yet visible. And assumptions made in rest become expectations carried into action. Most people wake up with yesterday's fears already loaded. They face the day reacting instead of directing. But when faith is impressed upon the mind during sleep, the morning feels different, calmer, grounded, prepared. You don't need certainty about the path. Faith is certainty about yourself, about your ability to persist, adapt, and continue moving forward without panic. This is why a few minutes of proper mental instruction outweigh hours of anxious thought. The mind does not measure time, it measures repetition and emotion. When faith is repeated calmly, without tension, it settles into identity. You stop asking if you can endure. You begin assuming that you will. Notice how strength feels when it is quiet. No rushing, no proving, just steadiness. This is the strength that lasts beyond motivation. Fear asks you to anticipate loss. Faith teaches you to anticipate growth. What you anticipate shapes how you interpret every event that follows. Tonight, you are not rehearsing problems, you are rehearsing resilience. You are training the mind to expect support instead of strain. The subconscious accepts whatever is presented with consistency. It does not argue. It does not analyze. It organizes behavior around what it believes to be true. As these ideas repeat, they lose novelty and gain authority. Authority does not persuade, it commands. And the mind responds accordingly. This is how faith becomes strength, not through emotional peaks, but through quiet nights where the mind is reminded of its capacity. You may not feel dramatic change when you awaken. That is how real strength forms without announcement. But you will notice it in how you respond when challenged. You will pause instead of panic. You will persist instead of retreat. You will trust instead of rush. These are the signs of faith taking root. Faith does not remove obstacles. It removes the inner resistance that makes obstacles overwhelming. And once resistance fades, movement becomes natural. Let the mind rest in this knowing. You are not alone in your efforts. You are not fragile. You are not behind. You are becoming steadier than yesterday. While you sleep, the mind continues to organize itself around this agreement. It prepares you to meet tomorrow with composure instead of fear. This is the quiet power of faith impressed in rest. It does not fade with circumstances. It strengthens you regardless of them. So release the day now. Let the body sink into stillness. The instruction has already begun. When morning comes, you will not need to search for strength. You will move as someone who expects to endure an expectation, once fixed, becomes reality. Rest here. Faith is doing its work. Faith is not lost in a single moment. It slips away quietly, unnoticed, through repetition of doubt accepted without correction. Each time fear is given the final word before sleep, strength weakens slightly. Not because strength has vanished, but because it has been denied its voice. The mind does not measure belief by intensity. It measures belief by frequency. What is repeated most often becomes dominant, regardless of whether it is true. This is why a man may believe in his potential during the day, yet awaken weaker each morning. Night has been instructing the mind differently. I have observed that faith does not require effort to exist. It requires agreement. When the mind stops arguing with possibility, faith settles naturally. Argument exhausts strength. Agreement restores it. Most men imagine faith as something they must summon during trial. In truth, faith must be installed before trial appears. Once difficulty arrives, the mind responds according to what it has already accepted. Acceptance precedes reaction. Reaction reveals belief. Belief determines strength. Each night, as the body rests, the conscious guard relaxes. This guard, so active during the day, prevents ideas from entering without examination. At night, it loosens. Whatever is allowed in at this hour sinks deeper than thought spoken in effort. This is why fear whispered at night shapes behavior more than courage shouted by day. Faith is not loud enough to compete with fear when fear is rehearsed repeatedly. Faith grows only when fear is neglected and agreement is restored. You are not here to fight doubt. Fighting feeds it. You are here to withdraw attention from it. What is unattended weakens. What weakens disappears. Strength returns when faith is no longer opposed. I recall a man who endured repeated failure, ridicule, and loss, yet rose steadily because he refused to abandon his inward agreement. He did not appear powerful. He appeared patient. That patience was faith without noise. The world later knew him as Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln did not speak of belief often. He lived as though endurance were expected of him. Expectation prepared his mind for burden rather than collapse. Strength that expects endurance does not panic. Panic is the sound of unprepared belief. As you rest now, the idea being restored is simple. You are capable of enduring what arrives. This is not optimism. It is acknowledgement of inner capacity. Capacity accepted becomes strength expressed. Most men weaken because they expect exhaustion. Expectation instructs the mind to conserve prematurely. Premature conservation appears as hesitation, doubt, and retreat. Faith instructs continuation. Continuation conserves strength rather than wasting it. As repetition continues, the mind is learning to accept endurance as natural. What feels natural does not drain effort. Effort drains only when resistance is present. Resistance is argument. Argument invites doubt. Doubt consumes strength. Agreement restores it. Others sense this agreement instinctively. They trust men who appear inwardly settled. They rely on their steadiness. They offer responsibility more readily. Responsibility accepted strengthens faith further. Faith grows through use. Use follows acceptance. I have observed that men who regain strength do not feel excited. They feel calm. Calm signals that inner conflict has ended. Where conflict ends, power returns. Power does not shout, it steadies. As the body relaxes, notice how the urge to brace against tomorrow softens. Bracing assumes threat. Faith assumes support. Support may not remove challenge, but it removes panic. Panic weakens judgment. Judgment guides action. Action sustained builds strength. Most men attempt to build strength through resistance. Resistance exhausts. Strength grows through alignment. Alignment allows effort to flow without friction. Faith is alignment between expectation and conduct. As this alignment settles, the mind no longer rehearses loss before sleep. Instead, it allows rest without debate. Debate at night weakens resolve by morning. Resolve does not require reinforcement when faith is present. Others may later remark that you seem steadier than before. This steadiness will not feel new to you. It will feel restored. What was lost was not power, but agreement. Agreement is returning now. You are not being asked to believe anything dramatic. Drama unsettles the mind. You are being asked to allow the idea of strength to feel appropriate. Appropriate strength endures. Unfamiliar strength fades. As repetition continues, the subconscious accepts that you are not fragile. Fragility is a habit of thought, not a fact of being. When fragility is no longer rehearsed, resilience appears naturally. Resilience is faith in motion. I have often said that the subconscious mind is the connecting link between finite thought and infinite power. When faith is restored, that link clears. Strength flows without obstruction. Obstruction was doubt. Doubt has been starved. As sleep deepens, the deeper mind continues this work without supervision. It reinforces calm agreement. It dissolves inner contradiction. It prepares you to meet tomorrow without bracing. You may awaken without remembering these words. That is of no importance. The subconscious remembers tone, rhythm, and assumption. Assumption governs reaction. Reaction reveals strength. This is how faith restores power quietly, without effort, without announcement. Rest now in this agreement. Let faith remain unchallenged. What is unchallenged grows, and strength, once restored, does not easily leave again. Faith weakens not because it is fragile, but because it is often opposed by the same mind that seeks to rely upon it. Men give faith instruction, then quietly revoke it through hesitation, caution, and divided thought. The subconscious obeys the stronger signal, not the more hopeful one. Division drains strength. Strength requires unity. When the mind issues two commands, advance and prepare for retreat, it creates inner friction. Friction consumes power. This is why many men feel tired without physical labor. Their energy is spent resolving inner disagreement rather than moving forward. Faith cannot operate where it is constantly questioned. Questioning invites delay. Delay feeds doubt. Doubt weakens resolve. I have observed that most men do not openly deny faith. They undermine it politely. They say, "I believe," but that single word cancels instruction. The subconscious hears the cancellation more clearly than the belief. Faith must be given without conditions. Conditions invite fear. Fear contradicts faith. As you rest now, the mind is learning to issue one instruction only. Not belief followed by caution. Not confidence followed by retreat. One direction. One expectation. Unity restores strength. Strength follows unity, as effect follows cause. I recall the years Thomas Edison endured repeated failure while perfecting his work. He did not entertain divided instruction. He did not prepare for defeat while advancing. He acted as one who expected results, even when results delayed. Expectation preserved his energy. Energy sustained his effort. Effort guided by unity produced success. Men who weaken under pressure often do so because they negotiate with fear. Negotiation gives fear authority. Authority once granted is difficult to revoke. Faith does not negotiate, it proceeds. The subconscious responds immediately when inner negotiation ends. Energy returns. Clarity sharpens. Action simplifies. None of this feels dramatic. It feels orderly. Order is strength. As repetition continues, resistance to faith dissolves without confrontation. Resistance is not attacked, it is replaced. Replacement is permanent. When the mind stops entertaining opposing possibilities, it conserves power. Conserved power becomes endurance. Endurance strengthens faith further. This cycle reinforces itself. Others sense when a man has stopped negotiating with doubt. His words grow fewer, his tone steadies, his presence reassures. They trust his judgment because it is no longer divided. Trust follows unity. Unity attracts responsibility. Responsibility accepted reinforces identity. As sleep deepens, the subconscious is withdrawing permission from doubt. Doubt survives only where it is consulted. Consultation has ended. Fear may still attempt to speak, but it will no longer be asked for advice. Without consultation, fear weakens. You may notice that inner dialogue becomes quieter. Quiet does not mean emptiness. It means agreement has been reached. Agreement ends argument. Argument drains strength. Strength returns when argument ends. I have often said that faith is a state of mind that may be cultivated deliberately. Cultivation does not require force. It requires consistency. Consistency is now being restored. The mind accepts what it hears calmly and repeatedly. Calm repetition carries authority. Authority directs behavior. Behavior sustained becomes habit. Habit governs destiny. As repetition continues, faith becomes the default instruction rather than a temporary mood. Mood fades. Instruction remains. Others may observe that you appear less reactive. Reaction belongs to divided thought. Response belongs to unified direction. Response preserves energy. Energy sustains action. Action guided by faith builds strength quietly. As sleep approaches more fully, allow the idea of inner unity to settle. You are not required to analyze it. Analysis invites division. Acceptance completes instruction. The subconscious understands unity instinctively. Once unity is restored, faith no longer drains strength. It supplies it. Rest now in this single direction. Let divided instruction dissolve. What remains is steadiness, and steadiness is the foundation of enduring strength. No man can rise stronger than the idea he holds of himself. Strength does not fail first in the body. It fails first in self-concept. When a man secretly believes himself fragile, he behaves accordingly, regardless of the faith he speaks aloud. The subconscious obeys identity more faithfully than desire. Identity is the mold into which faith must be poured. When faith does not match self-concept, it leaks away unnoticed. Most men attempt to borrow strength from circumstance. They feel strong when conditions favor them and weak when resistance appears. This dependence reveals a deeper issue. Strength that relies on condition is not strength at all. It is reaction. True strength is expectation of endurance. Expectation settles in identity. I have observed that men who appear unshakable do not speak often of courage. They assume it. Their assumption guides conduct long before fear has a chance to speak. This assumption was not inherited. It was installed through repetition accepted quietly. Repetition shapes identity. Identity governs response. Response reveals strength. As you rest now, the deeper mind is receiving a correction. You are not being asked to become invincible. You are being asked to accept that you are capable of standing without collapse. This acceptance alone restores more strength than effort ever could. Effort strains identity. Acceptance stabilizes it. Many men weaken because they rehearse failure inwardly, even while hoping for success. They imagine themselves overwhelmed, embarrassed, or defeated. These rehearsals impress the subconscious. The subconscious prepares the body and mind to match the picture it has been shown. Pictures repeated become instruction. Instruction becomes behavior. Behavior confirms belief. As repetition continues, new images are forming quietly. Not images of triumph, but images of steadiness. Steadiness endures longer than excitement. Excitement fades. Steadiness remains. I recall a young man who accepted responsibility beyond his position and carried it calmly, without complaint. Others assumed he was suited for leadership because he behaved as though pressure were normal. That man was Charles M. Schwab. Long before the world knew his name, Schwab's strength was not noise, it was composure. Composure reveals identity. Identity attracts responsibility. Responsibility strengthens faith. As you rest, the idea settling now is simple and sufficient. You are the kind of person who endures. Endurance does not require proof. It requires agreement. Agreement installs identity. Identity governs reaction. When difficulty appears, the mind will respond according to identity, not intention. This is why effort fails when identity is weak. Effort cannot override self-concept for long. Self-concept must be corrected at rest. Rest is the hour of correction. Others will sense this shift gradually. They will feel less need to reassure you. They will trust your stability. Stability invites confidence from others. Confidence offered strengthens resolve. Resolve reinforces identity. This cycle deepens quietly. Many men attempt to motivate themselves into strength. Motivation fades. Identity persists. What you accept yourself to be requires no encouragement. Encouragement belongs to doubt. As repetition continues, the subconscious is learning to describe you differently. Not as one who hopes to endure, but as one who expects to. Expectation guides posture. Posture influences action. Action sustained builds result. Fear loses authority when identity no longer includes fragility. Fear speaks to those who believe they might break. It grows silent before those who expect to stand. Silence is the end of fear's influence. I have often said that the subconscious mind will translate into physical reality whatever thought is held consistently with emotion. Calm acceptance carries more authority than excited desire. Calm acceptance is occurring now. As sleep deepens, the conscious mind releases its need to supervise. This release allows identity to settle without interference. Interference delays installation. Installation completes now. You may awaken feeling no different. That is the sign of success. Identity shifts do not feel dramatic. They feel familiar. Familiar strength does not call attention to itself. It simply remains. When tomorrow brings challenge, response will feel steadier. You will pause rather than panic. This pause is not hesitation. It is self-trust expressing itself. Self-trust is faith made visible. Faith grounded in identity cannot be shaken easily. It does not rise and fall with mood. It stands. Rest now in this acceptance of who you are becoming. The work is quiet, but it is exact. And strength, once rooted in identity, does not fade with circumstance. Fear does not enter the mind through experience alone. It enters through anticipation. Long before an event arrives, the mind prepares for what it expects. Preparation shapes reaction more powerfully than the event itself. A man is weakened not by what happens, but by what he rehearses in advance. Anticipation is instruction. Instruction becomes posture. Posture governs strength. Most men believe fear is a response to danger. In truth, fear is a rehearsal of imagined loss. The body tightens, judgment narrows, and strength drains before action is required. By the time difficulty appears, the man is already exhausted from preparation. Preparation without cause wastes power. Faith corrects anticipation. I have observed that men who remain strong under pressure do not deny difficulty. They deny catastrophe. They do not imagine collapse. They imagine sequence. Sequence reassures the subconscious. Reassurance preserves strength. The mind endures what it expects to endure. Expectation precedes endurance. As you rest now, the habit of anticipating harm is being corrected. Not by argument, but by replacement. Replacement is the only permanent cure for fear. What replaces fear here is calm expectation of continuity. Continuity dissolves alarm. Alarm feeds fear. Fear drains strength. Most fear is not felt consciously. It is held quietly as tension. The shoulders tighten, breath shortens, thought accelerates. These signals are messages sent from anticipation to the body. The body obeys anticipation faithfully. Correct anticipation restores ease. Ease preserves strength. I recall the story of Darby, who abandoned his gold mine just 3 feet from fortune. His effort did not fail him. His anticipation did. He expected exhaustion to mean defeat. Another man expected order to reveal itself and consulted knowledge. Wealth followed expectation. Expectation shapes outcome. Fear expects loss. Faith expects sequence. As repetition continues, the mind is learning to expect sequence rather than collapse. Sequence does not require certainty of result. It requires certainty of continuation. Continuation sustains strength. Others sense this shift instinctively. They notice you are less reactive, less startled by uncertainty. This steadiness invites confidence from those around you. Confidence offered multiplies resolve. Resolve strengthens faith. Fear thrives on unanswered questions. What if it fails? What if it ends? What if I am not enough? These questions are never meant to be answered. They are meant to drain strength. Faith does not answer fear's questions. It replaces them with assumption. Assumption ends debate. As sleep deepens, the subconscious is withdrawing energy from these fearful questions. Energy no longer feeds them. Without energy, they fade. Fade does not mean struggle. Fade means neglect. Neglect is occurring now. You may notice that thoughts of tomorrow feel less heavy. Heaviness belongs to anticipation of harm. Lightness signals expectation of manageability. Manageability restores confidence. Confidence steadies action. I have often said that every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Fear blinds men to this truth by insisting on catastrophe. Faith allows benefit to be discovered because it assumes continuity. Discovery strengthens belief. Belief stabilizes identity. Identity sustains strength. As repetition continues, anticipation itself is changing character. It no longer searches for threat. It prepares for response. Response is different from reaction. Reaction is panic. Response is strength. Others will observe that you appear composed even when matters are uncertain. This composure is not indifference. It is preparedness. Prepared men do not exhaust themselves prematurely. As sleep approaches more fully, allow anticipation to rest. You are not required to foresee tomorrow. Foreseeing invites fear. Expecting endurance is sufficient. Endurance accepted becomes real. The subconscious now holds a different picture. Not a picture of victory, but a picture of standing calmly while events unfold. Standing calmly preserves strength. Fear cannot survive where anticipation no longer feeds it. Rest now in this corrected anticipation. The work is quiet, but exact, and strength, once freed from premature fear, returns naturally. Strength that fades overnight was never anchored in expectation. It depended upon mood, circumstance, or effort. True strength renews itself quietly because the mind expects renewal to occur. Expectation instructs the subconscious to restore energy rather than drain it. The body follows the mind's forecast. Forecast determines condition. Most men awaken each day already tired because they expected exhaustion before. Sleep. They carried the weight of yesterday into rest. Rest under burden does not restore. Rest under faith renews. Renewal begins with expectation. I have observed that men who grow stronger with time do not measure themselves daily. Measurement invites judgment. Judgment invites doubt. Doubt interrupts renewal. These men assume improvement and proceed accordingly. Assumption governs recovery. Recovery restores strength. As you rest now, the idea being impressed is simple. Tomorrow will find you steadier than today. This is not prediction. It is instruction. The subconscious responds by arranging energy, attention, and outlook to match the command. Instruction given in rest becomes reality in action. Most weakness is not loss of power. It is failure to renew power. Renewal is blocked when the mind anticipates depletion. Anticipation shapes physiology as faithfully as belief shapes behavior. Faith instructs replenishment. Fear instructs conservation. Conservation under fear feels like weakness. Replenishment under faith feels like strength. I recall the manner of Theodore Roosevelt, whose physical challenges did not weaken him because his mind expected growth through adversity. He did not ask whether he could endure, he assumed it. His body followed that assumption. The mind sets the ceiling. As repetition continues, the mind is learning to expect recovery rather than fatigue. Fatigue rehearsed becomes habit. Recovery rehearsed becomes renewal. Renewal compounds quietly. Others will sense this change. They will notice that you do not speak often of being tired. You do not dwell on strain. Your presence carries steadiness. This steadiness reassures and attracts confidence. Confidence offered reinforces resolve. Resolve renews strength further. Many men attempt to rest by escape. Escape does not restore strength. Escape avoids reality without correcting expectation. Faith restores by teaching the mind that it is supported. Support removes urgency. Urgency drains energy. As sleep deepens, the subconscious is learning to treat rest as restoration rather than pause. Pause without faith preserves fatigue. Restoration removes it. Removal occurs without effort. Effort interferes. I have often said that faith is the state of mind which enables a man to endure temporary defeat without losing confidence. This endurance does not exhaust. It strengthens because it assumes continuation beyond difficulty. Assumption directs recovery. Recovery strengthens identity. Identity sustains power. As repetition continues, the mind releases the habit of carrying yesterday forward. Yesterday no longer instructs today. Today stands on its own foundation. Foundation rooted in faith does not crumble. Others may observe that you seem refreshed by challenge rather than drained. This is not because challenge has changed, but because expectation has. Expectation shapes response. Response determines effect. Effect influences condition. This cycle now works in your favor. Weakness once appeared because renewal was never expected. Strength now appears because renewal is assumed. Assumption does not argue, it commands. As sleep approaches more fully, allow the idea of daily strengthening to settle. There is nothing to force. The law responds to expectation quietly. Tomorrow's strength is already being arranged. The mind has accepted the instruction. Rest now in this renewal. Let the subconscious complete what faith has begun. And strength, once expected, continues to return. Strength that must be renewed through struggle is always at risk. Strength that is preserved through persistence endures, because it does not question its own direction. Persistence is not force. It is loyalty to a decision already made. When loyalty replaces debate, strength is conserved rather than spent. Most men believe persistence is an act of will. Will tires quickly. Persistence continues because it does not argue. The mind that has removed retreat as an option does not waste energy weighing alternatives. It proceeds quietly. Proceeding preserves power. Power sustained becomes strength. I have observed that men weaken most at the moment they reconsider. Reconsideration invites fear. Fear multiplies possibilities of failure. Possibilities drain energy. Energy lost weakens resolve before action even begins. Faith eliminates reconsideration. Elimination restores strength. As you rest now, the subconscious is being instructed that direction has already been chosen. This instruction removes the need for daily recommitment. Recommitment suggests doubt. Loyalty implies certainty. Certainty steadies effort. Steady effort compounds. Most retreat begins inwardly, long before action changes. The mind imagines escape, rest, or relief through withdrawal. Withdrawal feels protective, but it teaches the subconscious that difficulty signals danger. Danger anticipated drains strength. Faith teaches endurance. Endurance preserves power. I recall the long persistence of King Gillette, who carried his idea through years of delay without resentment. He did not dramatize difficulty. He accepted continuation as normal. This acceptance preserved his strength while others exhausted theirs through impatience. Impatience wastes energy. Persistence conserves it. As repetition continues, The idea of continuing without review is becoming familiar. Familiarity removes strain. Strain belongs to indecision. Indecision invites fear. Fear erodes strength. Removal of fear restores it. Others will sense this persistence in you without explanation. They will notice that you do not retreat at the first sign of resistance. They will feel secure placing responsibility in your hands. Responsibility accepted calmly reinforces endurance. Endurance strengthens identity. Identity sustains faith. Many men weaken because they negotiate with themselves. They debate whether effort is still worth it. Debate consumes strength. The strongest men do not debate continuation. They adjust method without questioning direction. Adjustment preserves momentum. Momentum sustains strength. As sleep deepens, the subconscious is withdrawing permission from inner negotiation. Negotiation fed fatigue. Fatigue justified retreat. Retreat weakened confidence. This chain is now broken. You may notice that thoughts of stopping feel less convincing. This is not discipline. It is habit forming. Habit does not argue. Argument belongs to doubt. I have often said that persistence is to the character of man what carbon is to steel. It tempers strength, so it does not break under pressure. This tempering occurs through repetition accepted without protest. Protest wastes energy. Acceptance conserves it. As repetition continues, continuation feels ordinary. Ordinary actions do not drain will. They sustain themselves. Sustained effort builds result. Result reinforces belief. Belief stabilizes identity. This cycle deepens quietly. Others may remark that you appear reliable. Reliability is persistence made visible. Reliable men are entrusted with greater responsibility. Responsibility strengthens endurance further. As sleep approaches more fully, allow the idea of loyalty to direction to settle without inspection. Inspection invites doubt. Doubt reopens negotiation. Negotiation has ended. The mind now proceeds according to decision already made. Decision removes fear. Fear removal restores strength. Rest now in this persistence. Let the deeper mind carry continuation forward without effort. Strength preserved through loyalty does not fade, and what does not fade grows. No man grows strong by standing alone in thought, regardless of how solitary his labor may appear. Strength multiplies through harmony. Where thought is isolated, fear speaks louder. Where thought is shared in purpose, fear loses authority. Harmony steadies the mind in ways effort cannot. Isolation magnifies doubt. Harmony corrects it. I have observed that men who feel weak often carry their burdens silently, believing strength requires secrecy. In truth, secrecy breeds tension. Tension drains power. The mind that refuses counsel carries weight unnecessarily. Weight carried alone exhausts. Weight shared steadies. The principle of the master mind is not merely a business method. It is a law of mental reinforcement. When two or more minds unite in harmony toward a definite purpose, each mind gains strength from the others. Faith shared multiplies itself. Shared conviction steadies belief. Steady belief sustains strength. I recall the method by which Andrew Carnegie assembled men of ability greater than his own in specific fields. He did not fear their knowledge. He welcomed it. Their combined thought produced confidence beyond any one man's capacity. Confidence multiplied by harmony endures. Fear cannot thrive where minds agree. Many men weaken because they insist on self-reliance alone. True self-reliance includes the wisdom to cooperate. Cooperation does not surrender direction. It strengthens it. Direction clarified through harmony conserves energy. Conserved energy builds strength. As you rest now, the subconscious is learning that cooperation is safe. Safety relaxes vigilance. Vigilance drains strength. Relaxation restores it. The mind thrives in support of agreement. Agreement reinforces faith. Faith strengthens identity. Identity sustains power. Others sense harmony instinctively. They trust men who appear supported rather than strained. They offer assistance, information, and opportunity naturally. Opportunity offered multiplies strength further. Strength shared grows. Strength isolated diminishes. I have known men who regained endurance once they ceased trying to carry everything alone. Their calm returned. Their judgment improved. Their faith steadied. Harmony relieved the hidden strain that effort could not remove. Relief restores strength. Strain depletes it. As repetition continues, the habit of isolation weakens. The mind opens to alignment without fear of loss of control. Control maintained through tension is fragile. Control maintained through harmony is stable. Stability preserves power. Fear once insisted that dependence was weakness. Faith reveals that alignment is strength. No great achievement is produced by a single mind operating in silence. Silence breeds doubt. Harmony dispels it. As sleep deepens, the subconscious is withdrawing energy from solitary strain. It is redirecting that energy toward cooperation, counsel, and shared purpose. These conditions reinforce faith naturally. Faith reinforced does not require effort. Others may notice that you appear more at ease in discussion, more receptive, more grounded. This ease invites trust. Trust strengthens cooperation. Cooperation accelerates progress. Progress reinforces belief. Belief steadies identity. As repetition continues, harmony becomes familiar. Familiarity removes fear of exposure. Exposure once felt dangerous. Now it feels supportive. Support preserves endurance. I have often said that the invisible counselors of the mind, those great figures we admire, offer guidance when invited. Even imagined harmony strengthens resolve. The mind responds to alignment, whether physical or mental. Alignment stabilizes thought. Stable thought preserves strength. As sleep approaches more fully, allow the idea of harmony to settle. You are not required to seek assistance. Assistance appears naturally when isolation ends inwardly. End of isolation restores strength. Rest now in this alignment. Let repetition continue quietly. The law of harmonious effort is operating, and strength, once reinforced through harmony, does not fade easily. This exercise is not entered with determination. Determination belongs to effort. This exercise is entered with permission. Permission opens the subconscious. What opens is shaped. What is shaped governs conduct. Nothing must be forced here. The mind responds best when it is not challenged. Begin by allowing the body to remain still. Stillness is not rigidity. It is absence of correction. Correction implies danger. Stillness implies safety. Safety invites the deeper mind forward. Do not search for comfort. Comfort appears once stillness is accepted. Allow breathing to continue without guidance. Breath directed becomes strained. Breath observed becomes even. Even breathing quiets the conscious guard. When the guard quiets, instruction passes freely. Now, without speaking aloud and without haste, introduce the first inward statement. Let it arrive gently, as though already familiar. I am capable of enduring what arrives. Do not repeat it quickly. Allow it to exist. Pause. Do not examine its meaning. Examination invites debate. Acceptance installs habit. Allow several breaths to pass. Now introduce the second statement, calmly. Strength returns to me when I allow it. Pause again. Notice that no effort is required to accept this. Effort would signal doubt. Doubt is unnecessary here. Allow silence. Silence is not absence. It is readiness. Now bring attention gently to the idea of faith, not as belief but as agreement. Say inwardly, I agree with my own capacity. Pause. Then, I no longer argue with tomorrow. Do not correct thoughts that appear. Correction feeds resistance. Allow thoughts to pass like distant sounds. Passing thoughts weaken when unchallenged. Now rest again in silence. The subconscious remains attentive even when the conscious mind wanders. Next, address anticipation, the source of much weakness. Say inwardly, I do not prepare for collapse. Pause. Then, I prepare to respond calmly. These statements do not deny difficulty. They deny panic. Panic weakens. Response strengthens. Allow silence again. Now bring attention to identity. without pride or display. Say inwardly, I am steady by nature. Pause. Then, steadiness belongs with me. Identity is formed through repetition, not declaration. These words work because they are calm. Calm carries authority. Now allow a longer pause. If sleep approaches, allow it. If wakefulness remains, allow that also. The exercise continues regardless. Now introduce endurance without struggle. Say inwardly, I continue without strain. Pause. Then, persistence is natural to me. These statements remove negotiation from effort. Negotiation wastes strength. Allow silence again. Now bring attention to harmony, the reinforcement of faith. Say inwardly, I am supported in my purpose. Pause. Then, I do not stand alone in thought. Support, once accepted inwardly, dissolves hidden tension. Tension drains strength. Support restores it. Now rest again. The deeper mind is recording tone, not volume. Next, address fear without naming it directly. Say inwardly, I give no instruction to doubt. Pause. Then, I withdraw attention from fear. Attention is the fuel of fear. Fuel removed, fear weakens. Allow silence again. Now bring attention to renewal. Say inwardly, each period of rest restores me. Pause. Then, I awaken steadier than before. These statements instruct the mind to expect renewal. Expectation directs recovery. Now rest again. If thoughts return to the day, do not resist them. Resistance reopens effort. Allow them to pass without involvement. Involvement gives energy. Non-involvement dissolves influence. Now introduce the final strengthening seal, slowly and with certainty. Say inwardly, one at a time. Faith guides my response. Pause. Strength follows faith. Pause. I trust my ability to endure. Do not repeat these often. Once is sufficient when accepted calmly. Now allow silence to remain. This silence may lengthen. The exercise does not end with a command. It ends with allowance. There is no need to do this correctly. Correctness is not required. Exposure is sufficient. Repetition over nights builds habit. Habit governs behavior. Behavior reveals strength. Return to this exercise on future nights without expectation. Expectation invites measurement. Measurement invites doubt. Let familiarity do the work. Familiarity installs identity. Identity sustains faith. Faith restores strength. Sleep may come. Wakefulness may remain. In both cases, the subconscious continues its work. Nothing further is required. The instruction has been given. The mind knows what to do next. There comes a time when the mind no longer benefits from instruction, but from stillness. Instruction prepares the ground. Stillness allows the seed to take root. When faith has been impressed without conflict, the wisest action is to leave it undisturbed. This is that time. Nothing further is required of you now. No effort must be added. No correction is needed. The mind has accepted a new agreement, and agreement, once reached, governs conduct more faithfully than will. Will tires. Agreement endures. I have observed throughout my life that men lose strength not because life overwhelms them, but because they refuse to trust what has already been settled within. They revisit old doubts, re-examine decisions, and measure themselves against yesterday. In doing so, they reopen doors that had already closed. Closed doors preserve strength. Reopened doors invite struggle. Faith does not grow through inspection. It grows through allowance. What is allowed to remain unchallenged becomes permanent. What is questioned repeatedly weakens, even if it is true. Truth does not require defense. It requires acceptance. From this night forward, your faith no longer needs to be proven. Proof belongs to uncertainty. Certainty rests without explanation. You may find that the mind grows quieter in the days ahead. This quiet is not emptiness. It is order. Order conserves strength. Strength conserved becomes resilience. Resilience reveals itself not in dramatic moments, but in ordinary response. You will notice it when difficulty arises and panic does not. You will notice it when delay appears and patience remains. You will notice it when others rush and you do not. These are not coincidences. They are the signs of faith made habitual. I have known men who searched endlessly for courage, unaware that courage is merely faith allowed to stand alone. Once faith is no longer interrupted by fear, courage appears naturally. It does not announce itself. It acts. Action guided by calm faith preserves energy. Energy preserved strengthens character. Character sustains power. You may notice that you no longer rehearse tomorrow with the same tension. This is not neglect, it is trust. Trust does not abandon preparation. It removes anxiety from it. Preparation without anxiety strengthens rather than exhausts. Anxious preparation drains. Calm preparation restores. From this point onward, strength will not feel like something you summon. It will feel like something you return to. This is the mark of restoration rather than creation. You were never without strength. It was simply obscured by divided thought. Division has ended. Unity has been restored. Others will sense this change even if they cannot name it. They will feel steadiness in your presence. They will trust your judgment. They will feel less need to hurry you or reassure you. This response is automatic. Men respond instinctively to inner order. Inner order invites outer cooperation. Cooperation lightens burden. Lightened burden preserves strength. I have often said that faith is the starting point of all achievement. But faith that must be revived daily has not yet settled. Faith that has settled does not require attention. It governs silently. Silence here is not absence. It is authority. Authority does not argue, it directs. As you rest now, allow silence to complete what repetition began. The subconscious mind does not require reminders once agreement has been accepted. It performs its work faithfully, whether observed or not. Observation is unnecessary. Trust is sufficient. You may sleep deeply or lightly. You may drift in and out of awareness. None of this alters the result. The law continues in all states. Sleep does not create faith. Faith has already been installed. Sleep allows it to operate without interference. Interference belonged to doubt. Doubt no longer holds authority. If, in days to come, an old fear attempts to return, do not confront it. Confrontation grants importance. Allow it to pass without response. What receives no response cannot remain. Fear starves without attention. Faith grows without effort. Strength follows faith naturally. You are not required to feel strong at all times. Strength does not require constant sensation. It reveals itself when needed. Expectation prepares it. Calm preserves it. Preservation is now automatic. I have watched men exhaust themselves by trying to remain vigilant over their own progress. Vigilance suggests fear of loss. Fear of loss weakens the very thing it seeks to protect. Release restores balance. Balance sustains endurance. From this night forward, the responsibility of maintaining strength no longer rests on conscious effort. It rests on habit. Habit has been formed through calm repetition and acceptance. Habit governs behavior. Behavior reveals faith. Faith sustains strength. This cycle now turns without supervision. Allow yourself to rest without. Evaluation. Evaluation invites judgment. Judgment invites comparison. Comparison weakens resolve. Resolve does not need reinforcement. Once faith is present, faith stands. It does not lean. You may find that problems no longer feel personal. They appear as tasks rather than threats. This shift is subtle, yet powerful. Threat drains strength. Task invites response. Response strengthens confidence. Confidence steadies identity. Identity sustains faith. This is the quiet power that endures long after emotion fades. It does not depend on circumstance. It does not fluctuate with opinion. It remains because it has been accepted. Acceptance is the final act of faith. From this point forward, tomorrow does not require your worry. Preparation will occur naturally. Strength will appear when called upon. Endurance will reveal itself without announcement. You are not behind. You are not fragile. You are not unprepared. These were conclusions drawn during seasons of divided thought. They no longer instruct the mind. The mind now responds to a different agreement. That agreement is simple, steady, and sufficient. Rest now in that agreement. Let silence hold what words no longer need to carry. The work is complete. Faith has been restored. Strength will follow it wherever you go. There is a form of strength that does not announce itself and does not require reinforcement. It does not rise in moments of excitement nor disappear in moments of strain. It remains because it has been accepted, not because it has been defended. This is the strength that now governs you. Nothing further must be done. The mind has reached the point where agreement replaces effort. Agreement settles the inner world. A settled inner world responds to life with steadiness rather than reaction. Reaction drains power. Steadiness preserves it. I have observed that men often believe they must remain alert to maintain their strength. They fear that if they relax their attention, weakness will return. This belief itself is weakness. True strength does not depend on vigilance. It depends on order. Order sustains itself. Once order is restored, supervision becomes unnecessary. From this night forward, strength will no longer feel like something you hold tightly. Holding invites tension. Tension exhausts. Strength will feel like something that supports you quietly, without demand. Support does not require effort. It carries. You may notice that the mind grows less interested in reviewing the past. Review belongs to doubt. Doubt searches for explanation. Faith does not need explanation. It rests in assumption. Assumption governs behavior more powerfully than analysis. Behavior guided by assumption conserves energy. Energy conserved deepens endurance. Endurance reveals itself only when needed. I have known men who mistook stillness for weakness because they were accustomed to strain. They did not recognize calm as power. Calm is power in reserve. Reserve is what allows a man to meet pressure without collapse. Collapse occurs only when reserve has been spent in advance. Fear spends reserve prematurely. Faith protects it. As you rest now, reserve is being preserved rather than consumed. The subconscious no longer prepares for collapse. It prepares for response. Response is strength in motion. Motion guided by faith is efficient. Efficiency prevents exhaustion. From this point onward, challenges will no longer feel like threats to your stability. They will feel like events to be met. This distinction is subtle, yet decisive. Threat invites panic. Event invites response. Response strengthens confidence. Confidence steadies identity. Identity sustains faith. Others will sense this stability without understanding its source. They may feel calmer in your presence. They may trust your judgment more readily. They may rely on you without explanation. This is not coincidence. Men respond instinctively to inner order. Inner order has been restored. I have often said that faith is the only known antidote for failure. Faith here does not promise ease. It promises continuity. Continuity allows strength to be renewed rather than consumed. Consumption leads to fatigue. Renewal leads to endurance. From now on, rest will feel deeper, not because the body has changed, but because the mind no longer resists it. Resistance prevents restoration. Acceptance allows it. Acceptance is now the governing condition. You are not required to protect this state. Protection implies fear of loss. Fear of loss invites loss. Proceed instead as one who trusts what has been established. Trust allows the law to operate. Law does not require encouragement. It performs faithfully. You may find that moments which once unsettled you now pass without disturbance. This is not indifference. It is mastery. Mastery does not eliminate difficulty. It eliminates panic. Panic is the enemy of strength. Its influence has ended. If At any time the mind grows quiet, allow it. Quiet is not emptiness, it is alignment. Alignment is the highest state of mental efficiency. Efficiency preserves strength. Preserved strength accumulates. Accumulated strength becomes character. Character governs destiny. This is the process now unfolding without effort. I have observed that men who truly possess faith do not speak of it often. Their lives reveal it. Their manner reveals it. Their responses reveal it. Faith, once settled, prefers action to declaration. Action guided by calm faith endures. Endurance outlasts excitement. Excitement fades. Calm remains. As you continue to rest, allow this calm to remain undisturbed. There is no need to return to instruction. Instruction has completed its work. What remains is allowance. Allowance is the final act of faith. From this night forward, you are not required to prove your strength to yourself or to anyone else. Proof belongs to insecurity. Security rests quietly. Quiet security is unshakable. You may awaken with no memory of these words. That is expected. Memory is not the instrument of change. Impression is. Impression has already been made. The subconscious carries it forward. It will guide thought. It will guide reaction. It will guide endurance, and it will do so without asking for attention. This is the condition in which strength lasts beyond circumstance. It is not dramatic. It is dependable. It does not rise and fall. It remains. Remain now in this stillness. Let silence complete what faith has begun. The law is operating, and it will not fail. There is a quiet dignity that comes when the mind no longer argues with its own direction. In that quiet, strength ceases to be something pursued and becomes something relied upon. Reliance is the sign that faith has settled into place and no longer requires defense. This is that quiet. The work of instruction is finished. What remains is allowance. Allowance does not strain, it permits. And what is permitted to remain undisturbed grows into permanence. I have watched many men approach the edge of great inner change only to retreat, not from fear of failure, but from fear of trusting what had already been established. They continued to check, to measure, to question. In doing so, they weakened the very condition they sought to preserve. Strength does not survive inspection, it survives confidence. Confidence here is not display, it is restfulness. It is the absence of inner noise. Noise belongs to conflict. Conflict drains power. Where conflict ends, power returns quietly. You may notice that the mind no longer seeks reassurance in the same way. This is not neglect, it is maturity. The mature mind no longer asks whether it can endure. It assumes endurance as its natural state. Assumption governs reaction. Reaction reveals strength. Faith, once established, prefers silence. Silence allows it to operate without interference. Interference belongs to doubt. Doubt has been dismissed not through argument, but through lack of invitation. What is not invited cannot remain. I have often said that every man must choose between the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. Yet beyond discipline lies something even quieter: order. Order removes the need for discipline. It replaces effort with alignment. Alignment is now present. From this night forward, the mind will respond to challenge with steadiness rather than alarm. Alarm once consumed strength before action began. Steadiness conserves energy until it is needed. Energy conserved becomes reserve. Reserve prevents collapse. Collapse occurs only when strength has been spent in advance. Fear spends strength early. Faith preserves. You are not required to prepare yourself emotionally for what may come. Emotional preparation often exhausts more than it protects. Faith prepares without tension. It assumes response will be sufficient when the moment arrives. Sufficiency expected becomes sufficient. Expectation instructs the subconscious faithfully. The subconscious does not concern itself with possibility. It concerns itself with instruction. Instruction has been given calmly and repeatedly. Calm repetition carries authority. Authority does not need reinforcement. Reinforcement belongs to uncertainty. Uncertainty no longer governs here. Others may sense this change without words. They may feel less need to advise you. They may trust your judgment more readily. They may notice that you do not rush to explain yourself. Explanation belongs to insecurity. Security rests without explanation. Resting security invites trust. Trust attracts cooperation. Cooperation lightens burden. Lightened burden preserves strength. I have seen men endure long seasons of difficulty without losing faith because they had learned to separate circumstance from identity. They did not say, "This is who I am." They said, "This is what is happening." This separation preserves dignity and strength. Dignity is faith expressed quietly. As you rest now, identity remains untouched by circumstance. Circumstance may change. Identity remains stable. Stability is the foundation of endurance. Endurance does not exhaust when identity is firm. From this point onward, strength will reveal itself not in how loudly you resist, but in how calmly you continue. Continuation without drama is the truest sign of faith. Drama seeks witnesses. Faith requires none. You may find that time feels less threatening. Time once felt like pressure because doubt questioned outcome. Faith accepts sequence. Sequence removes urgency. Urgency drains strength. Without urgency, the mind rests more deeply. Deep rest restores power. Restoration now occurs naturally. I have often said that faith is the starting point of all achievement. But faith that remains noisy has not yet completed its work. Faith that has settled becomes quiet. Quiet faith governs behavior more effectively than loud belief ever could. Behavior guided by quiet faith endures. Endurance compounds. Compounding produces results that appear effortless to those who do not understand the law. Law works whether understood or not. It requires only alignment. Alignment has been achieved. You are not required to return to these words for reassurance. Reassurance belongs to transition. Transition has passed. What remains is establishment. Establishment does not shift easily. If, in time, an old thought of weakness attempts to return, allow it to pass without resistance. Resistance grants importance. Importance feeds repetition. Repetition installs habit. Habit governs destiny. You are no longer installing weakness. You are allowing strength to remain. Allowance is the most powerful form of faith. It does not push. It does not plead. It trusts. From this night forward, trust will replace effort. Not trust in circumstance, but trust in your own capacity to respond. Response trusted removes fear of anticipation. Anticipation once rehearsed loss. It now rehearses endurance. Endurance rehearsed becomes real. You may awaken with a sense of calm rather than excitement. Calm is the sign that strength has not been disturbed. Excitement rises and falls. Calm remains. Remain now in this calm. Let the mind stay unoccupied. Let silence finish what repetition began. The law is operating. It does not require attention. It does not require belief renewed daily. It proceeds. And it will continue to proceed, quietly strengthening you, long after words have ceased. There is a moment when the mind no longer seeks reassurance, not because it has been convinced, but because it has settled. In that settlement, faith no longer rises and falls. It stands. And what stands quietly requires no defense. This is that condition. You have arrived at a place beyond effort, beyond instruction, beyond the need to persuade yourself of anything. What has been accepted inwardly now governs outwardly. The mind, once divided, has found agreement. Agreement is the end of struggle. Struggle was never strength. Strength is steadiness. I have observed throughout my life that men mistake intensity for power. Intensity burns brightly, then fades. Steadiness endures because it does not consume itself. What does not consume itself remains available when needed. Availability is the mark of true strength. From this night forward, your strength no longer depends upon how you feel in a given moment. Feeling changes. Identity remains. Identity now includes endurance. Endurance does not ask permission. It responds. Response guided by faith conserves energy. Energy conserved accumulates. Accumulated energy becomes reserve. Reserve prevents collapse. Many men collapse not because life overcomes them, but because they spend their strength in advance through worry, anticipation, and inner argument. Argument has ended. Anticipation has been corrected. What remains is readiness without tension. Readiness without tension is mastery. Mastery does not shout. It waits calmly. You may notice that the mind grows less busy. Busyness belonged to uncertainty. Uncertainty demanded constant checking. Certainty releases the need to monitor. Monitoring exhausts. Trust restores. Trust here is not blind. It is informed by experience and repetition. The mind has been shown, calmly and consistently, that it can endure. It now accepts this as fact. Fact does not require reinforcement. It stands on its own. Others may notice that you no longer rush to defend your position. Defense belongs to insecurity. Security rests quietly. Quiet security commands respect without asking for it. Respect offered strengthens resolve. Resolve steadies action. Action sustained builds result. Result reinforces belief. Belief stabilizes identity. This cycle now operates without interruption. I have known men who feared rest because rest exposed their doubts. Doubt spoke loudly in silence. That fear is gone now. Silence no longer threatens. Silence confirms. Confirmation does not speak. It remains. As you rest, the mind is not idle. It is ordered. Order directs thought automatically. Thought ordered properly does not wander toward fear. It returns to center without effort. Centering restores balance. Balance preserves strength. From this point onward, challenges will not feel like tests of worth. They will feel like situations to be met. Worth is no longer in question. When worth is settled, energy is no longer spent defending it. Defense wastes strength. Acceptance preserves it. You may awaken tomorrow without any dramatic sense of change. This is the sign of success. Dramatic shifts belong to unstable foundations. Stable foundations feel familiar. Familiar strength does not announce itself. It simply remains present. I have often said that faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. But faith that has matured becomes less about hope and more about knowing. Knowing does not speculate. It expects response when response is required. Expectation directs behavior quietly. Quiet behavior conserves power. Power conserved strengthens character. Character sustains destiny. This is how strength carries. Forward through years rather than moments. From this night forward, you are not required to remember these words. Memory fades. Impression remains. The subconscious carries impression forward without effort. Effort is no longer necessary. If at times you find yourself doing less, yet accomplishing more, do not question it. Questioning invites doubt. Doubt invites division. Division drains strength. Allow effectiveness to remain unexplained. Explanation is unnecessary when results appear. I have seen men undo their own progress by demanding proof too soon. Proof arrives in sequence, not on demand. Faith allows sequence to complete itself. Sequence never fails when uninterrupted. Interruption belongs to impatience. Impatience has lost its voice. From now on, rest will feel deeper because resistance has been removed. Resistance kept the mind alert even in sleep. Alertness drained renewal. Renewal now proceeds naturally. Natural renewal restores strength without awareness. This is the highest form of efficiency. Efficiency allows a man to give more without depletion. Giving without depletion is power. Power expressed calmly attracts trust, responsibility, and opportunity. Opportunity responds to steadiness. Steadiness now defines you. You are not becoming stronger through effort. You are allowing strength to remain. Remaining strength grows. Growth does not require supervision. It requires allowance. Allowance has been given. Remain now in this stillness. Let the mind rest where it no longer needs to work. The law is operating. It will continue to operate, and it will strengthen you quietly, faithfully, and without end.